Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the kitchen table. Today on the kitchen table, as you can see, I'm joined by a special guest. Without further ado, I'd just like to welcome Yariv Bash, who is the co-founder and CEO of Flytrex, live from Tel Aviv. Hi.
Hi, Simon.
Cheers. Very good. We're going to talk about the new Flytrex Sky. But before we do, it's tradition on my kitchen table that whenever we're discussing drones, Yariv, we have a beverage. Now, it's early afternoon in the UK, and I'm socially responsible, as you know. So I'm drinking some home-roasted Monsoon Malabar coffee. But I believe it's a little bit later for you, and you might have something a bit more appropriate.
So I'm just finishing my bottle of Cardu. Speyside Scotch, really good one, and it is 4 p.m. here, but I think I'll manage a sip or two.
Well, in that case, cheers.
L'chaim.
Very good, excellent. So, let's talk. We're here to talk about Flytrex Sky, which was, I think, took a lot of people by surprise when you launched that on everybody earlier this week. But before we get to that, do you want to just give us a quick background on yourself and Flytrex and the sort of history behind the company and how you got to this point?
So I'm Yariv Bash. I'm an electronics engineer from Tel Aviv, born and raised. Before Flytrex, I was aiming a bit higher than just the sky. For almost 4 years, I led a team called SpaceIL. That's the Israeli team that competes at the Google Lunar X Prize competition. Up to date, we raised close to $50 million, and we're actually building a spacecraft as an Israeli non-profit. Yes. About a year and a half ago, we brought a professional CEO, someone with 40 years of experience from the aerospace industry. So I got left with a lot of free time.
And Flytrex was born.
And then I got a call from Amit, who was a good friend, and he started playing with drones. I played with drones also before, as just for my spare time. And from here to there, we designed the first product, the Flytrex Core. We saw that there's a market for those products. Less than a year after that, we released the Live, and then the Live 3G. We've just crossed the 100,000 flights mark on the website, and more than 100,000 flights have been performed so far in the past year and a half or so. And we're always thinking forward. When we released the Live, we thought that we should push forward into something new. And even today, when we've just released the Sky, we're already thinking about the next steps for Flytrex.
Cool. So I mean, how long has the Sky been in kind of gestation then? How long has it taken you to get it from on the paper to where you're releasing in August? I believe you're delivering in August.
I think that about somewhere between around half a year since we conceived the idea until it's not just the drone itself. There's an entire platform behind it. It's the cloud services, it's the apps that we developed, it's the API for developers that we'll be releasing soon. It's not just the hardware that you see on the video.
Sure. Well, that's a good thing to talk about. I think that the video has caught a lot of people's attention. I suspect that was a very deliberate move on your part to choose that particular use case to demonstrate. I'm sure there was a little nod in there somewhere to a certain well-known retailer who maybe have announced some similar things on the delivery front. But I think that it's fair to say that you were using that to garner some attention, but this platform that you've put together is able to do a lot more. So could you just sort of go through some of the use cases that you guys have thought of so far, and how that is best served by using this kind of the 3G technology and the cloud system that you've put in place?
So as you said, we wanted to make something different. We wanted the Sky. We didn't want to produce another wireless selfie stick, if you may. We wanted the Sky to be used for anything else. Of course, it could be used for video and taking images as well, but For instance, if you're out of your house, you could instruct your Sky to lift off and hover around your house if an alarm goes off. So you can take images of your surroundings around the house. If you're a developer and you want to play with drones, you can just put a few Skies on the ground and instruct each one of them to fly in a certain altitude, in a certain path, and play with them flying together. I'm guessing that there are a lot of smart people out there who've always looked for that kind of platform. The 3G enables you to just forget about connectivity. You can use an Apple Watch to control the drone. You don't need to worry about how the drone connects to the cloud. We've taken care of that. You just have to think about how you control it and what you want to do with it.
So if you're a developer or somebody with what's the current hacking skills, then are you going to? So you're saying that you're going to be releasing? Will it be a full API, full access, or how hackable and moddable is this thing going to be?
The Sky is quite hackable. We're using the Ardocopter autopilot, which is completely open source. We're basically using the Mavlink commands. We're covering those commands on our 3G link with our commands, but at the end of the way, you'll be able to control the drone either with our commands, simple commands such as take off, go to that point, land, return home, or you'll also be able to directly send Mavlink commands to the drone. So basically, you can do anything you want. You can reprogram the firmware and make it do whatever you want.
Okay. So that's quite interesting then, because I think a lot of people, myself included, hands up here, until I kind of delved down a bit more into the FAQ and spec to use, I think it wasn't immediately obvious that this is really I guess it's a platform for people to then run with their own ideas who perhaps weren't confident or expert on the hardware side, but maybe have an idea that you've now covered off everything except the idea, because the hardware is there that makes it fly, the hardware is there that makes it accept commands. It's just down to now people with the ideas to push that through an app or email or whatever can get the commands out. Is that right? I've got that right this time, have I?
Exactly. There are some other manufacturers who have an SDK. An SDK is platform dependent. I mean, they can release an SDK for Windows or for Android, but with the web API, you can control the drone from any device that's connected to the internet. And for $750, you can do whatever you want. I don't know of any other platform like that just enables you to control the drone over the web.
Okay. See, again, it's one of those things where when you sit down and think about it, you suddenly start thinking about more uses. So I've just thought of now that you've explained that. So, for example, you could have, if you had, I don't know, if you have a large property, maybe it's a property that you don't live in all the time. You could have something on standby. You could simply send a text message or an email and tell it would then take off, it would go to a certain height, it would capture some film, that sort of thing. You can actually, whatever's connected to the internet, as long as you have that interface, you can just use that to make it do stuff.
Exactly.
Cool. Okay, that is quite cool then. That's one of the other things that people have been asking lots of my viewers. I made a very sort of quick video when you first launched launched everybody the information about this, and I had lots of questions through. And one of the ones that people were quite interested in it as a drone, as well as the sort of concept, and they want to know, look, like other drones, can we hang gimbals off it? Can we add cameras? Can we accessorize it that way to make it an actually kind of useful drone, in the sense of people wanting to use it for let's say the more regular uses, flying, video, stills.
Absolutely. It comes ready for a GoPro, it comes ready for FPV. You can attach your own gimbal to it. It has extra points for electricity, for power. It has available GPIOs to control relays. Whatever you want, you can really attach to it. We've designed it to be very modular. You can detach parts, you can attach them again. We wanted people to feel relaxed with our drone. For instance, if it crashes and one of the arms breaks off, we're using the traditional DJI arms, so fixing your drone will be quite cheap. On the other hand, we wanted to give people a really good experience. We're using the Tiger motors, for instance. It's not a cheap system, propulsion system, but we believe that that should give you the best flying experience that there is. Right now, we close for instance, the batteries we'll be using. We've tested a few well-known brands, and we're still not there. I'm looking for the best brands that we can buy. People should feel comfortable with their drone. They should trust it while it's in the air. Both the frame, both PCBs are designed by us. A lot of the electronics is embedded inside the frame. It's a really nice machine.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I think that's the other thing that's caught people by surprise is that you haven't, I don't think a lot of other companies when they release a drone, it's proprietary. You look at the price of spares and replacements. You can only get them from one place or authorized dealers. You've gone a very different route in terms of the actual nuts and bolts of a flying machine, and that you've gone for fairly cheap, easily to get off the shelf parts, which is an interesting concept. So I guess what your unique selling point for that though is it's the hardware is whatever the hardware is, and presumably there's nothing to stop people tricking it out with whatever power system and propulsion they want.
Yeah, exactly. You can do whatever you want.
Excellent. So it's started to sound like it's hackable both in terms of software and it's hackable in terms of hardware. So that's really interesting. One of the use cases that immediately comes to mind, I think, is using it as an aerial filming platform, because traditionally, of course, if you're wanting to take reasonable quality video, certainly a professional quality, you normally have a two-person operation. You have somebody who's concentrating on piloting the aircraft in the right place and keeping it out of the way of everybody and following the right path. And you're having somebody who's more creative, perhaps who's the camera operator, who's concentrating on framing the shots. So with your system, you could set up a pre-programmed flight path, leaving the single operator free to be camera person and do all the camera work. If my understanding is correct, that would be possible. Yeah. So you said it was FPV ready. That's presumably you're not going to be sending FPV video streaming down your 3G link. That wouldn't kind of work, or are you?
I do it, but the charges that you'll be getting at the end of the month will be outrageous. We thought a lot about transmitting video over the 3G network, or in the future over LTE. I hope that once the prices for data will come down, that is something that is always on our mind, transmitting the video in live as well. But currently, it's just too expensive. After a few hours of flight, you'll run out of money.
Well, sure. But that's interesting that you say that it could be done. It's not a technical reason. It's purely one of the infrastructure and the pricing means that you'd be bankrupt before you could do it.
Let's say that from our perspective, I can say that it's more than can be done. But at the end, we chose not to go in that specific path.
I'll take that I'll take that very unsubtle hint, and we'll file that away. One of the things, though, that the other people have said is obviously with the Flytrex Live, the 3G Live, which there's a version of down there, which I've used and do use. Obviously, it's one-way data, and I know that you keep that quite compressed. And it doesn't run up a huge amount of data as a live. It's only going one way after all. Now, of course, with the Sky, though, we're talking two-way. And perhaps if you're sending lots of control data, there might even be a bit more. Is this going to be expensive? You've done what's it looking like in terms of data usage for a sort of day-to-day flying?
Well, it's very similar to the current live data rate. About just a few megabytes per hour, something like 3 or 4 megabytes per hour. the control and telemetry packets are pretty small. We want to keep them that way. That way you also minimize the latency. Once you send something to the drone until it receives it, the shorter the packets are, the faster they will reach the drone. And if you want to give people the feeling that they're controlling a drone without a delay, so it's in our best interest to keep the packets as small as possible.
Cool. Okay, so that's an interesting one as well. You've mentioned sort of latency and saying that if you want to feel that you're actually effectively controlling it in almost real time over 3G, what kind of, if we wanted to do that, if we had your app and it had a couple of virtual joysticks on it, and I wanted to say, right, take off or move forward, what kind of lag are we looking at? What is the delay between that happening?
I'm opening the app as we speak. The beta, of course, we haven't released it yet. We've been doing our tests in Tel Aviv, while our servers are in the East Coast near New York. And we've flown it without any latency at all. Once we release the product, we start shipping it, we're going to have servers all over the world, on the West Coast, East Coast, in Europe. So the latency is going to be pretty low. For us, the flying experience was quite good, and we're talking about sending packets all the way across the Atlantic and back to Israel. This is how the app looks like. It's pretty simple. You've got your sticks, and you can just fly it manually, or if you want, you can just switch to a map. And I'm not sure it will work. It might crash because it's a beta, because there's no drone. No, it's just okay. Press and hold to take off. It won't let me take off because there's no drone connected.
Okay, so because that's interesting as well. So when you say in your sort of promotional material then that for $750 buys you a ready-to-fly aircraft, you actually, from your point of view, what you're saying is it is genuinely ready to fly. If you don't want to add traditional, I should say, RC gear on there and have a standard transmitter receiver setup. So you're saying that from your point of view, you will be able to have a real control, almost live flying experience with your app out of the box.
Yeah, exactly. It is a live flying experience. Just connect the props, charge the battery, and install our app, and you're ready to go. You just click takeoff, and the drone will take off on its own, and it will await your commands, either manually or with a click to go on a map, whatever you want. If you want it to come back, just push the return to home button and the drone will come back to you and start landing. If you want it to land at that exact moment, just press the land button and the drone will begin to land.
Okay, very interesting. One of the other concerns that's been raised, and I think it's probably quite right that it's raised, just in case people have taken the sort of initial promotional video a little bit too seriously, perhaps, is people are saying, well, if we all get these and we're all sort of launching our bottles of beer and our shirts across town, they're going to crash into each other unless they must have built in some sort of sense and avoid. I'm pretty sure, given what you've said so far, you haven't you haven't actually beaten Amazon to the door, and so your aircraft won't be able to keep itself out of the way of other drones, trees, power lines. So users have got to be a little bit sensible with this, right?
Exactly. We plan on having environmental awareness later on, from topography to man-made buildings and other drones as well. But at the end, it's important to remember that the pilot who's right now flying the drone is responsible for his actions. Each country has its own rules and regulations, and we expect people to follow those regulations, of course. When you're flying your drone, you have to fly it safely. You could send it out to even 6-7 miles or 10 kilometers or so. But if that's the case, then I strongly suggest that you follow it on foot or in your car and maintain visual eye of sight with your drone.
Sure, of course, and as you say, you as the purchaser and the pilot and the user have got to take responsibility, no matter how clever and autonomous they are, because there are different rules everywhere. And for example, for most of my UK viewers will know, in the UK, it's illegal to fly any remotely controlled aircraft beyond visual range. Right. So, it's the sort of thing that you would use, but there are still use cases for some programmability, hence why we have other aircraft with ground station type pre-programmed routes. Yours will do something similar, except there's no need to you do it all through your own app or through somebody else's app. By the way,
if there are two pilots can control the sky. So if your friend is 1 mile away, you can start flying towards him, and once he sees the drone, he can transfer the ownership and the piloting to his cellular phone.
No, so this you're dropping more and more cool things into the conversation that I hadn't pulled out from your original stuff. So that's really so there's no issue about giving other people permission to sort of take over different functions. So you could actually have the situation where I'm the pilot who's flying it, but if you have you've added an accessory, as you said, you could have somebody else control that, or you could hand over control. Or
we haven't implemented such a thing. We call it today we call it collaborative piloting, but controlling an accessory from another cell phone, that's cool.
Right. Off camera, we must talk about royalties on this one. I think I've just had a good idea that I could sell to you. Right. The other thing that I can't let you get away with just mentioning in passing, am I right in saying that you have plans in place to put in topographical and situational awareness in terms of height of structures, height of terrain as well, automatically?
Yes, we start with the height of terrain. That's pretty easy. And from there, we will move on to man-made objects and things like those. At the end, it will also have some collision avoidance. We're not talking about 3D camera with the graphical processing units behind it. We're talking about something pretty simple that will enable you to fly safely without going into buildings, trees, etc.
Okay. That's very interesting. More interesting about here. Okay, one of the other things, and I think this is a fair point. I think that people have made, and it does. Flytrex is a relatively small company, but this point has been made about some of the very biggest companies in the marketplace, and I think it's quite high on consumers' kind of radar of things, that if I'm going to buy a product in the drone space, I want to know that if I have an issue or a problem, I'm going to get some high quality support from whoever I'm buying from. Some of the biggest players in the market have struggled with that. So some people have said, look, what happens if this is really successful? How can we be confident that Flytrex, as well as supporting this, you've got a lot of customers out there who have already got your existing products who are sort of saying, well, don't forget us, we were there as well. So what's your other infrastructure? Because the technology sounds very cool, but you're going to be offering this for sale in less than a couple of months. So what's your support? What's the back office, and how are you going to deal with that side of the business?
So in terms of the Flytrex Live and Live 3G, it uses the same platform. We built the Sky platform on top of the Live platform. So there's inherent support for the older products. If they'll stop working, everything will stop working. They use the same servers, the same cloud systems, the same platform. It's basically the same connection. We have support people on hand, and as we grow, we will of course add more support. We plan on continuing the Flytrex Live line of systems. People are enjoying it. We're the only platform in the world that enables people who have drones from different manufacturers to join and compete with one another and gain their badges. And that's something that we'll continue to do for the community.
Okay, I think that's fair enough. Thank you very much for that. The last question, really. So I noticed on the website there's a price if we pre-order now, and then there's another price mentioned at some later date. So can we just hear it from you? How much is this going to cost? When is that price going to change? And when are you going to start shipping? When are people like me going to get them in our hands and be able to actually have a consumer product? What's your timeline?
So we plan on shipping during August to the first people who will order in the next couple of weeks. Our current price is $749, including local taxes wherever you may live. Once we start shipping, the price will go up. We're currently talking about $1,100 for the product. So it's a very, very large discount for the early birds. And we think it's a very reasonable price. Let's say that we want to get the product outside as much as possible. That's why we lowered the price so much for the newcomers.
Okay, when you say that there's no further taxes to pay on the price, obviously people are responsible for checking out what the import taxes and import duties are in their own territory. But yes, the bottom line price is nothing more to pay than what you see on your website. Yeah.
Exactly.
Cool. Yariv, that's everything, I think. Thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it. I can imagine that you'll be you're quite busy at the moment, as you seem to have generated a lot of interest. That's really interesting, and some extra insights there that I hadn't gleaned from the promotional material. So thank you very much indeed for joining us, and good luck with the Sky, and I look forward to being able to test one soon, he said, dropping a hint.
Thank you so much, Simon. We'll be just flying one directly to you after you install the app.
Excellent. I'm not sure how we could get past the UK line of sight rules on that unless you follow it in a helicopter, but that'd be quite good. Yeah, just deliver one in. Yariv, many thanks indeed. Thanks.
If you have any more ideas for the Sky, then just update us, keep us informed. We'd love to have more of your ideas.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. So if people watching this have got ideas on a use for the Flytrex Sky, or they've had something sort of bubbling away in the back of their mind about use for drones, but perhaps they didn't maybe have the hardware experience or know-how, then this could be a platform that could be used to do that. So if you want to leave a comment down at the bottom there and let us know some of the use cases. Also, if you've got any follow-up questions, put them in, and I'm sure one of the guys from Flytrex will pop in and have a look at the comments and come and respond to people. There seems to be a lot of interest, and if you've got any further questions, either here or visit the website. We'll put links on the screen and put links down below to where you can go to see that. Yariv, thank you very much, Steve, for your time. I really appreciate it. It's been a pleasure, and enjoy the rest of your Cardew whiskey. But yeah, thanks very much for joining us on the kitchen table. So cheers to you, and good luck to Flytrex with their new product. I'll see all of you lot again back on the kitchen table soon. Until then, cheers.